Hi everyone, Steve Richard from ExecVision, and we're going to be talking about how do you implement sales acceleration technologies to drive adoption today. You know, we're hearing so many different technologies that are out there, but we have to understand if we're going to make these things be successful, if we're going to drive adoption, if we're going to implement them effectively, we're going to get a great return on our investment. But I'm hearing a lot of sales leaders talking about challenges getting people using the stuff that they bought, and that's what this is going to be all about today. My name is Steve Richard, and I'm the guy talking here. Of note, I own a company with about 65 employees, so we have purchased and we have implemented a variety of sales acceleration technologies. I've seen some of them be incredibly successful, well adopted, and loved, and I've seen many others of them be you know, really nobody cared about it at all, and no matter how hard we tried through carrots and sticks and coercion, couldn't get the people to ever use the stuff and do anything with it. And it's unfortunate because we see a lot of promise and potential in many technologies that are out there. So I'm speaking about this both from the standpoint of someone who's done this before and also from the standpoint of somebody who, with ExecVision, I've seen our 40 customers implement ExecVision, and we've observed best practices along the way that we're going to share with you today. I'll share with you the science of how to implement these effectively. So I think we've all seen this image of the sales tech stack. This is from VentureBeat, and it's an eye chart. Boy, you think the periodic table is hard to memorize, or the military alphabet or something like that. This is way tougher in my mind. And what we're seeing is because there's just so much explosion of different technologies out there, everyone that I'm talking to is asking the same question. How the heck do we get ROI out of all this stuff? So I'm going to give you some simple tips that you can implement in your organization that's going to ensure that you get ROI out of the next sales acceleration technology that you buy and bring into your company. Here are the steps. Number one, and there will be 5 of them, so take notes. Number one, get your managers to buy in first. And I see this all too often. This step fails again and again and again. The management team doesn't all agree and buy into what the company is doing and why they're going to be buying that sales acceleration technology, ultimately what they're trying to accomplish. And when you have a whole bunch of people who have different opinions, different visions, you know, probably a common vision for where they want to go. They want to grow revenue. They want to get more sales. We all know that. But what I'm talking about here is when the frontline managers in particular have disagreements, even over details, even over little things. That becomes a big barrier to success. So the first thing you need to do is you got to get the managers to buy in, believe, and be a part of the process of evaluating and selecting that sales technology and understand why they're going to be doing it in the first place. That leads to point number 2, which is getting alignment on goals. You need to gain alignment on your goals and ultimately quantitatively what you want to achieve. Now, I did a session, I'll talk a little bit later about Call Camp. And in Call Camp, we break down real sales calls for what works and what doesn't work. And one of the ones we did was all about client success reps, customer success reps. And if we listened to 3 different customer success calls, and all of the best ones had the same thing in common, the rep helped the client define success. How will they define success so that if we're sitting here a year from today and we look back a year from today and we say, was that implementation effective? Are we glad we bought this sales acceleration technology? They need to be able to answer the question, how do they define success? And they have to all agree. There has to be an alignment from all of those different managers on what success looks like. And document it. And everyone, this is so important. Write it down. Write it down. It goes a long way to have everyone have it written down. This is the reason we document things like core values and put them on the wall in our office. Because when everyone agrees, these are our values, these are the things we care about, everyone agrees, these are our goals, This is what we're trying to accomplish. This is how we're going to define success, not just amongst your leadership organization and the C-level executives, your CFO, CEO, but also with the vendor, because the vendor's looking for that type of commitment from you as well, that you're bought into what you're trying to do here and there's clear alignment on what you're trying to accomplish. They want to know, the vendor wants to know, if you're going to renew, why? What needs to happen for you to renew? And when you do that, everyone has a target to aim for. And that's the critical thing, is there's total clarity on what the target looks like. And this leads into step number 3. Now that we have that clarity, the next thing we need to do is train our managers first. And this is, again, a big, I find, a failure point in a lot of the sales technology vendors I've worked with personally in the past, where you buy it, they quote-unquote roll it out. Usually there's some sort of a tech implementation or a tech integration period. Then they roll it out and they do this training. And the training essentially consists of 30 minutes over the phone, talking at the reps, telling them all the features, click here, click there, run a report this way, things like that. And in those sessions, everyone glazes over. They don't have any activity. There's no action. They don't have to take any action. So what we've seen is that the managers really need to become power users and subject matter experts themselves. They need to be at a point where they could train other reps on how to do this, maybe not even at their own company, but at other companies. So we've got to train them first and get them to all understand how the thing works and in the specifics, the details, and at least establish a few power users. Now, the next thing after the managers, and this is one of the really interesting ones that research has revealed, is the idea of winning over influential reps. Aha, fascinating. This is super interesting, because in every sales organization that we work with, we come to find out that there are, generally speaking, some influential reps that their voice carries a lot of weight on the sales floor. So if you can find out who are those people who are highly influential, highly visible in the organization, if they buy into something, if they believe in something, everyone else follows behind them, follows suit. And I love this picture of Bob, the minion, the famous king minion from the movie here. He became the greatest amongst equals of the minions when he was named king. So don't be snooty about it, you influential reps. Don't be like Bob. Be a good king. But the whole idea here is that if influential reps say, hey, this is going to make me more money, then other people are going to buy into that, and they're going to agree. Now, the key here to winning over the influential reps is have them do something. So whenever you're doing a rollout with training and adoption, as opposed to just showing the client how to use the technology, instead, get them to do it. Get them to do some pre-work before they show up to the training, and then get them to do some homework and some post-work. So everybody knows they have to take action. All of your people at your organization, all your sales reps know they have to take action before. There's going to be accountability and expectation that they do it, and you'll be shamed if you didn't do your homework. Just like you think about when we were all in college, university, or in grade school, elementary school even. Before that, if you didn't do your homework, well, you were always a little bit of an outsider, an outcast, and that's the same kind of thing we want to create amongst the reps, starting with the influential reps first. And this last step, step 5, is the magic. This is the secret sauce. So out of everything I'm sharing with you, this is the one that I hope you take with you and implement in your organization, because if you can harness the power of the habit loop, then everything else becomes easy. Everything else becomes easy. What we want to do with anything that's new, it doesn't have to be a technology. It could be exercise, as you'll see in a minute. It could be breaking a bad habit like smoking, as you'll see in a minute. Brushing your teeth. You know, for those of you out there who have kids who are of the age where they're learning how to brush their teeth, you have to establish that routine. You have to establish the habit loop. Now, the science is really interesting on this. In order to get people doing something consistently without even thinking about it, and it has to happen in the brain where it's below the recognition level. You're not even thinking about what you're doing. You just are on autopilot, and snap, boom, you start doing this behavior that you don't even think about. How do you do that? Well, number one, it starts with the cue. And in this case, I always ask people, I always ask our clients, did you brush your teeth this morning? Simple question, but you know, kind of there's some jokes about that. Sometimes, oh, Frank, you forgot to brush your teeth again. But inevitably, everybody says yes. Now, what's happening? Well, there's a cue. You wake up in the morning and you got morning mouth. And you don't even think about it. What you realize is, well, crud, I've got morning mouth. And there's this routine that I do where I brush my teeth. And then from that routine, I get a reward. And in the case of brushing your teeth, the reward is you've got nice, clean teeth. You don't feel that morning mouth yuckiness anymore. You've got that nice minty aftertaste. Your breath is fresh, those kinds of things. So the key to the whole habit loop, these are the keys to the castle, gang. These are really, really powerful. What the science is, you have to get the cue established. And I don't care if you're brushing your teeth or if you're trying to get someone to quit smoking. For a lot of people quitting smoking, they say frequently, whenever I see people outside of a building, I want to light up. Or when I have my cup of coffee in the morning, it reminds me of a cigarette, or perhaps the morning paper, or when I'm just bored, when I have time to kill. Whatever that cue is, a lot of people have that, not a lot of people who smoke have that cue. So if it's a habit you're trying to break, like smoking, you have to recognize the cue and then cut out that cue or change or reframe that cue. And the same goes if you're doing a positive habit like exercise, where for a lot of people the cue is the alarm clock going off in the morning, seeing their running shoes on the ground or seeing their gym bag, seeing other people exercise is their cue and reminder that they should go exercise. There's a reason that CrossFit has turned into this massive cultural explosion, because they're very, very good at the cue. If you go into a CrossFit, you hear that bell. The bell chimes and you go to your next station, and you do your WOD, your workout of the day. And it's an addictive habit-forming thing that, in this case, releases endorphins or a rush in the brain, and that's the reward you get from the workout. So the key to the whole thing is forming a positive habit around the sales acceleration technology, because if the managers are aligned, to recap, on the goals, on what they're trying to accomplish, how they're going to define success, are they bought in? And if the managers are trained and knowledgeable and know how to use this stuff, and there's strong leadership from the top, and if you bring influential reps into the tent and get influential reps to buy in and see how they're going to make more money and be able to demonstrate to other people how they're going to make more money, and boy, you don't use that technology, boy, you're crazy. I use it and I doubled my income last month. You really should take a look at it. It's not that hard. And then finally, and the most important, is recognize the cue. And for a lot of organizations, that's going to take the mode of a lot of reminders, calendar invites, text messages, campaigns where people put posters on the wall. There are so many different ways you can do it, but ultimately you have to have that cue that signals to everyone, this is something we're going to do right now. In the case of ExecVision and our clients, what we see for many of them, that cue is everyone listens to one of their own sales calls per week, and then they comment on and annotate their sales call. They share it with their manager. The significance there is that the managers take far less time to do call review versus what they do before, and when the sales rep gets some feedback from the manager, that's the reward. They get some praise, and they also get some constructive feedback, which allows them to be better again in the next call. And then the cue comes in, oh, reminder, it's Thursday afternoon, it's time for me to submit my call. And the reminder and the cue causes that habit, that routine, that behavior to go again, just like this mouse with the chocolate and the cue. All right, so there you go, 5 steps to implementing sales acceleration technology. With that, I'd like to invite everyone to something we call Call Camp. And every month at ExecVision, we listen to real sales calls, not fake, not role plays, not talking about practice, Allen Iverson, not practice talking about the game, not practice, real game tape, real game film for what other salespeople do at other organizations successfully, and in some cases not successfully. So I encourage you, I invite you, please join us. We'd love to have you at Call Camp. It's free. It's essentially free sales training every single month. and we bring in some of the best inside sales experts in the world onto it. We've got Jim Eberlin at Top Ops coming up soon. We've got Cindy Littlefield at the Bridge Group, Trish Bertuzzi from the Bridge Group, Lauren Bailey at Factor 8. The list goes on and on. Art Sobchak, just an incredible list of guest coaches for Call Camp that we've had, and we're going to have every single month. So please register for this, share it with as many people as you know. We're building a movement here and this is your cue in the habit loop. We're building a movement. This is your reminder. Get people to sign up for this. And then the behavior is show up to the webinar or listen to the recording on demand. And your reward is going to be you will walk away with at least 2 things, I promise. You'll walk away from every call camp with at least 2 things you can implement in your organization with your sales calls to get better. So everyone who's listening, sign up for Call Camp and encourage your colleagues to do the same. This is Steve Richard from ExecVision. Implementation is more than half the battle. It's almost all of the battle. So when you're moving forward with sales acceleration, make sure you have a great plan to drive adoption. Good luck.